we have right now, we get to react
more of like
to history. We get to react to a historic event that transpired this weekend. An event that people said they have been longing for since the beginning of COVID-19. I want live sports. I would do whatever it takes to watch live sports. If live sports comes on, it doesn't have to be fans. I'm going to tune in. That's what people said. That's what I heard.
That's what I said.
It was live sports this weekend. In fact, it was a title fight, 2 title fights this weekend, man, with the UFC 249. Shout out to Dana White. But it begs the question: who tuned in? Did you tune in? I know you were one of the main people on this, man. I can't wait for live sports, man. I'm gonna watch it. It doesn't matter. I'm watching it.
I'm not much of a fighter, UFC guy.
Oh wow.
I'll tune in for McGregor. I'll tune in for the really big fight. Like if McGregor was fighting, I would have tuned in.
These fights this weekend were really big, though, bro.
Well, here's the problem.
Right,
Habib backed out. I think I definitely would have watched if it was Habib Ferguson because I know those are two big names. And I've seen Ferguson.
Henry Cejudo, though, man, 2 weight division champ at the same time.
I have no attachment there.
Bro, he had beat one.
But simple answer is no. I did not tune in.
I just can't believe that, man. I can't believe it.
Well, it was funny too because I was even talking to you about it. I think it was the Friday before. Like, bro, you tuning in? I was like, I might tune in to pay my respects for live sports coming back. It's not really. I'm not the biggest fight guy, but whenever I do watch, these are kind of entertaining and live sports is back. So it's just kind of like a little salute. Like I'll pay my support. Shout out to
Dana White, man.
But no, I didn't tune in. I completely forgot about it.
That was the first major sports event to be completed or competed since the COVID-19 thing started, man. So major shout out to the UFC. But it was a crazy situation because leading up the day before the fight, one of the fighters there tested positive for COVID-19 along with 2 of his cornermen. And they had already done the weigh-ins, the face-off and everything. So it was a unique situation in terms of getting into that late hour right before the events were about to start, wondering if they were still going to be allowed to go through with it and if they were going to be able to, and what was going to be the viewpoint if they did proceed with the event. But doing some of the research on it, apparently the Florida State Boxing Commission, they felt that they had done a good job in terms of the isolation process amongst all the fighters there, making sure they weren't intermingling and things like that. And they all had separate hotel rooms. Obviously, they couldn't work out together. They couldn't be in the same gyms at the same time together. And to let people know what I mean by working out together, I've been to a couple of the UFC fight weeks where not just the event, but leading up to the event, they'll have an open gym where 20 fighters are in there just warming up back to back. So you get in the cage for 5 minutes. This guy's over here in the back room with the other fighters. And then they just kind of rotate them all throughout there where they didn't allow them to do that at all because of the whole COVID-19 situation. So that really played a large role. That
happens even with your opponent being there.
Yeah, absolutely. Really? Yeah, because it's there. So you'll have like what they call the A side and the B sides, right? So all the A guys will be there together. And that's their time for mat time or open gym time. And then from there, they'll bust to take them back to the hotel. And then the B side, all the B guys will come in. Because at these events, they have just 2 locker rooms. So literally, it'll be 7 guys that are considered the A corner in their locker room together. Yeah. And then the other 7 guys in their locker room together. But once you're at the fights for that weekend, that's your group that you're
not at the gym at the same time as your opponent.
No. But like everybody that's on your side, like all 7 fighters are going to be at the gym together. They're going to all, go here together. They're going to all do that together. And that's kind of how they keep everybody, you know what I mean?
So each side probably brings in their own guy to spar with.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got to think, man, each person, depending on how much their budget is for each fighter, they can have anywhere between 7 to 10 guys between when you look at their cornermen, their cutmen, their trainers, their boxing coach, their wrestling coach, jiu-jitsu, whatever it may be. And then not even mentioning like if they just got somebody they're cool with and they're like, hey man, just pull up. Because I mean, that's kind of like what my situation was when they had the fight here in Pittsburgh. This would have been in, I think it was 15. It would have been 15 or 16 year where we had the first UFC fight in Pittsburgh. Like all of us were up there and literally it was just, hey, all right, this dude. All right, cool. We'll talk with him for a little while. Oh, I know that guy. Okay, let's talk with him for a little while. And you just kind of vibe out that way. They didn't allow none of that. And most of the time these fights, like those workouts are open to the public too. So you'll have fans on top of that crowded in these small MMA gyms. So they didn't allow any of that type of stuff to happen. So when the Florida Boxing Commission heard about that, they felt that they had done a good job in terms of making sure the fighters weren't getting the cross-contamination or exposure with anybody else. And then from there, once the dude found out he had tested positive, apparently he was one of the main ones too that had like the mask and the gloves on, but he was actually honest and up front. When he got there on Wednesday, they were supposed to take the test then, and apparently they're supposed to get the results back in the day. But they ended up taking 2 days, which pushed it right to the brink of when the fight was about to happen.
Right.
But as soon as he got there, he had already told him like, hey man, some people in my family, that he didn't say if it was like direct family, cousins or whatever, but he said some people in my family have been exposed to the to COVID-19. And that was ultimately why they were able to make sure they were extra careful in terms of the separation and the isolation and stuff like that. Whereas when we talked about this, 2 or 3 weeks before that UFC event that did get canceled, the one fighter said that he knew he had it and didn't even tell anybody, which was crazy. And that was one of the things that was like, man, I understand both sides, because for these fighters, you spend all your money on the front end, training, workouts, flights, hotels. You don't get paid until you fight. You get paid to show up and you get paid after the fight. So for those guys, I mean, if you tell them, hey man, I got it, you're not getting the check more than likely.
Yep.
So the first guy understood him trying to conceal that, but then I felt I had even more respect for the fighter who ended up saying that, hey man, I think I've known people that have been exposed to it, just get ahead of this thing, and then he ends up not fighting. But I could respect that so much more because he put others in front of himself, which we always talk about does not happen a lot in this world.
Yeah, it's tough to do sometimes, especially when, like you said, the checks are involved and all the time and other resources that you've invested in. So yeah, that was definitely an interesting wrinkle, because I remember you texting me about that, and you're just like, man, what do you do with this whole situation? You don't want other people getting it, obviously. At the same time, you're just like, man, are we gonna stop everything every time someone gets this? Because it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. And he was asymptomatic, right?
Yeah, he didn't have
what they were
symptoms,
saying. That's confusing to me as well. I've never understood that throughout this whole process. But
because I look at it like, I mean, plenty of people can be asymptomatic to different diseases or viruses. I mean, you think about like the first time, I hate to always bring up the flu, but like some people can get the flu, right? And they don't hit right away. Like they're not having the chills and the sweats and throwing up and all that right out the gate, but they can still be carrying it and then pass it to somebody else who's going to display symptoms right away. And that's the whole thing with it.
Yeah. The question is, whenever someone has that scenario where, you know, they don't have the instant results of the chills and all that type of stuff. I mean, are there points where someone could actually say, hey, I have the flu, but you don't have it in the sense of being asymptomatic? Because I've never heard of that until this.
It's like you can have the traits or the actual disease without your body having to show it. And that could be just because your body's immune system, which is why they say, like, if you have a compromised immune system, you're more at risk of having the crazy symptoms and potentially dying from it, because your body isn't just equipped to fight it off, whereas a lot of other people might be able to. That's the whole thing with it. So when they say asymptomatic, that's just the biggest thought process, man. Some guys, their immune system is just strong enough where it's not going to show, or it's not deadly enough to where they're showing symptoms. Whereas other people, it's the opposite. You know what I mean? Or some people, the different strands of it. Same when we talk about the flu, it's different strands of the flu. They saying with the COVID-19 thing is different strands of it. So you can have it, but this strand might not be as tough as that strand, or your exposure to it might not be as much as if you had got exposed by this person right here who had longer, more time exposed to the whole COVID-19 thing. So that's why their symptoms are going to be a little bit stronger. So those are all these that kind of play into it.
So the question is then, where do we go from here? And this is something that's been talked about with the NBA, with the MLB. I haven't heard anything about the NHL, to be honest with you. No one's reporting anything on them. But you're thinking they're going to follow suit with the other leagues. Now, there's mention with the NBA that it's going to be a similar scenario with the UFC. If someone gets it, we're going to keep playing on. Same with, actually, I don't know if the MLB has reported this. I'm hearing so much different things about all these leagues, but that is something I have heard with the NBA, that they're going to be in a bubble, and if someone contracts this or has it, we're going to isolate them, but play is going to continue on. So the thing is, if with the UFC, we just saw this scenario play out that NBA has been talking about. If this happens, we're going to play on, and it's kind of this back and forth, interesting scenario. So it's just kind of, let's see what happens with the UFC if nothing comes of it, where all the other fighters and all the other people involved, nothing happens and we just move on. They have a couple fights coming up here.
Right. Back-to-back weekends, man.
Yeah, so this is in a way a stepping stone, I would say. But these sports are different than...
I was going to say, it's a step in the right direction, but when we're talking UFC fighters, that group that fights still isn't the equivalent of how many people are traveling with a basketball team in terms of the roster, the training staff, everybody that needs to be there around that team. Or when you think MLB, or even when you get to football, just because the amount of people on these rosters. When we talk UFC, the high end guys, the best of the best, the guys who get paid the big money, have the bigger staffs around them in terms of the coaches traveling with them and things like that. Some of the smaller guys, they might show up with just a cut man and a trainer, 2 people. So it's just 3 guys, you know what I mean? Whereas with basketball, you're looking at 15 guys, just the team itself, not coaches, not trainers, not anybody else associated with. So you already see the numbers, and that's just for one team. So when you start factoring in how they want to house these groups and these teams and things like that, you're talking about a lot more people than just the UFC had for this weekend. And I think that's where it's going to get a little bit more difficult when you start talking about these sports with bigger rosters, because now you're not going to just be able to say, oh yeah, we're going to have 30 teams in this one hotel. And you think about everybody that's going to be with them, you know what I mean, in terms of how all that operates. So I think that's something that the NBA, MLB, NHL, and definitely the NFL are going to have to work out if this thing continues on.
What are you thinking?
In what regard?
I guess I think you have the player's perspective though, which is interesting. Like if you were in the NBA, MLB, and NFL, what are you thinking with all this going on? Because you have a lot of things at play with people who are talking about, their families. You want money, and absolutely, I'm sure you want to even be playing football. I mean, you don't want to be wasting like a year of your career even. Yeah,
I mean, it's a unique situation. It's something that if I was playing, I would definitely have to talk to my family about, because you have to think, I'm in a situation where luckily none of my family has compromised immune systems. But I think of how many teammates I know who have daughters with diabetes, who have daughters that might, or sons that might have autoimmune system disease and things like that. So you asking yourself, hey, is that money worth what I'm going to potentially expose my family to, my wife and my children to? That dynamic is different. And then also, what stage are you in your career? If this is rookie year and I'm trying to get it, well, I think I'm going to be a lot more, on the side of, hey, let's get up out here and let's just take our chances. Once I've already been paid, though, now I'm weighing the risk. Is that money worth this? And that was ultimately one of the things that led when I was thinking about my retirement. Okay, I don't have to do this for the money anymore. So is this worth this anymore? And for me, I was like, it's not weighing the same no more. I'd rather walk away. I'm good. So I think those are some of the things that people will have to decide on, because it affects more than just you. And I think that's the biggest difference. But everybody's going to be different in that situation. So for me, that's 2 examples right there. Me pre-contracts, me pre the millions. Absolutely, man. I'm out here gung-ho. Hey, we're going to have to take a chance, babe. I got to get it. I got to get it while I can. Me on the back end, though, I'm definitely going to be contemplating a lot more in terms of, man, is it worth it to me or not? Because at the end, you really have to ask yourself, all right, you made that money, but you potentially put your family in harm's way. How do you look in the mirror? How do you sleep at night after that? That's something that each person's going to have to ask themselves individually. And there is no right or wrong answer for that, because everybody weighs that differently. But that's something that definitely has to be thought through, because it's bigger than just entertainment. It's bigger than just $1. It's bigger than just, hey, I'm living on my dream. I'm playing. You're affecting multiple people.
Well, that's something that has been on my mind too. Like, all right, things get opened up in a month or two. Let's just say that everything's opened up and we're good to go. What's the difference between, obviously there is a difference. There's, a lot more physical contact, but still, if, I'm going out to a concert, I'm going out to a bar, I'm going out to restaurants, grocery stores, and interacting like normal, versus players being together in a locker room and playing football and all, all that type of stuff. If you're even getting tested too, like if the tests are going on and everyone's saying, all right, everything's good here. What's the difference, or that's the thing I'm trying to struggle. It seems like it might actually be less risky doing that. If everyone's getting tested and you know what's going on, versus me just randomly going out to a bar and hanging with people. I don't know where any of these people have been.
Very true, man. But I also know that the testing situation is unique in terms of, do you have enough tests? And then how often do you have to test these people? Are you testing them just once and then once they get there, all is well? I mean, you think about a 16-week season. You're going to test them week 1 and think that everything's going to be good by the time you get to week 10? Week 16?
Right. But I guess that's the thing with even the UFC and what the NBA has been talking about. If someone gets a test, we move on. We keep going.
Right.
And then that's what I mean. If this UFC thing, we've just seen this scenario play out.
But I think this is the thing that I'm saying though, right? In terms of, you tested these guys, right? Their event was right now. They don't have to fight again for another 3-6 months, realistically, right? Whereas in football, basketball, it's week to week, sometimes night to night. So it's different when you say we gonna test these UFC fighters right now. Hey, nothing else came from it. They're good to go. They're out of sight, out of mind. They're not competing again for a while. Basketball, you test this guy this week. Say 3 days from now, he goes to do something reckless. Who knows what it is?
That's what I mean.
He comes back and plays that following weekend. You see what I mean?
If they do stay in a bubble, or if they do abide by that type of stuff, then there shouldn't be.
But you hear that it's a lot of if they abide by it, if they stay in that bubble, if they don't go see their family, if their family isn't going to see other people as well. Because we already have talked about this multiple times, how we see some people taking it serious in terms of quarantining, other people are kind of just doing whatever they want to do. So it's kind of like, when you factor in all these different players, the money associated with them, not everybody has family. What about the guys who like to, spend a little time with people over here and a little time with people over there, a little time with people over there? I mean, how do you handle all that? How do you dictate all that?
This is an example of, I think, what most sports fans and what I think sometimes of sports themselves and sports players, you just think everything's in harmony and everything's gonna be perfect. Seriously, seriously. So I mean, the way I'm picturing it is everyone's in a bubble, everyone's all in. Yeah. We're winning this. We're trying to win this championship. Yeah. I'm gonna be in the hotel room. I'm gonna be watching film.
I mean, I just laugh, right? Because you say that right when you go for a run. I'm thinking to myself about that AFC Championship year that we went to, right?
Okay.
And everything that was transpiring in the locker room, on and off the field. I mean, obviously some of the stuff came out after the fact, but it's like,
you're talking about the Chiefs game?
Yeah, okay. and everything just that whole season. I'm thinking like everything that's going on, but to the fans, they're like, oh man, they're all just singularly focused on winning the championship. That's the only thing that's going on. It's like, bro, we done had this dude, he got in trouble. That guy done got in trouble. I done got in trouble. Coach done tripped out. This didn't happen. Oh, y'all just saw the live video. Y'all thought that was it, but it was this going on. And that, like, it's just so much. But it's funny to hear from a fan perspective that y'all just assume, like, hey, man, everything is perfect. They're all just locked in, focused on this and this only. It's like, dude, it's a lot of different personalities, a lot of different levels of love for the game, because not everybody has the same type of obsession for the game. Some people are naturally talented, but they don't really care for it. Some people care for it crazy, but they don't have the talent. And then some people are a mix of both. Like, that's just how the sports will operate, man, because it's so many people. It's not like boxing or UFC where it's just one person you're worried about. These rosters in football, I mean, you're talking about 53 guys, and that's not including your practice squad. Shoot, some of the coaches are iffy in terms of what's their level of commitment, man. Are they trying to hang out and have fun? Are they trying to get it in and get a championship? Or are they kind of in the middle? Are they more concerned about their family? Like, what's going on here? It's a lot that goes with that, man.